person because it goes,
Right.
sideways
Yeah.
and
So
all that kind of
you
thing.
could make a reasonable guess at what the recording would be, but if you had the full environment that you could replay, you could watch it from any angle in the
Yeah,
future, and
yeah.
you could like you could put it in a little box in a new memory palace to refer to a snippet of a previous meeting.
And wouldn't that be really fucking powerful? So the number of times you've gone, oh yeah, we've talked about this, fuck knows, like 3 months ago.
Right.
Um, let's jump back into 3 months ago, and here's the environment with the memory
Right.
palace.
Right.
That
And
would be
here's
really fucking
the
powerful.
AI generated summary because that's running all the time, connected to the dream catcher and
Yeah,
updating our knowledge base based on all the things that we talked about.
and that's your inventor's notebook,
Yeah,
only in VR. Yeah,
the VR Inventor's
yeah.
Notebook, and you can have these like extremely high yield meetings with people whilst your memory is stored in this spatial awareness. Hmm.
Um, that would be, um, well, literally a game saver. Um, but while we're at it, can also have a pony for Christmas. Because I don't think any of these apps are looking that way. There was one that came quite close, uh, but none are really hitting the points on it.
Nah,
Um, this is
neither have I.
so this is not doing it for me because
Right.
of
Let's go back.
the
I'll see
VR
you back
the
in
VR interaction.
I'll see you back in workrooms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll see you there.
Okay. Hey, bud. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. Your mic's busted. Or it might be still in the app. Like, did you exit the call app? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I got you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My audio was hijacked by something called Party Chat. which
Oh,
I think was the telephone call.
yeah, that was the telephone call we were in, party chat.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
click again. Can I just go over that list of features we talked about
Yes.
very
Yes.
quickly? Okay, so you want basically a world generator where you can see a map of all these different locations that you've been at. You can meet your friends or your colleagues at different locations where new locations are generated based on the topics of conversation, which can be laid out ahead of time or during the conversation. Um, you're free to move around the room. You can place new whiteboards anywhere you like. You can place images, browser windows, and then you can snapshot the browser windows.
Yep.
You can talk to the generative AI to manipulate the environment.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be obviously a few years off, but that'll be really cool.
I don't think it is. I think that because that fluid that we were just using has the feature to use AI generation to make the environment as well. And so,
Yeah.
whilst it's sort of doing, it's cheating, like it's not strictly 3D, I think that one of the core avenues we need to go down is to find ways to make LLM interfaces to geometric systems, because it is actually quite simple to do. Like, a table with a cup on it, you can generate that, and then you can have a semantic handle for the cup where you can give back to the LLM a game board that is like, the board is 8 squares by 8 squares. In square A2 is a cup. If you want to move the cup, say move A2, like you can give it.
It's I'd imagine it's something similar to building a game. But the really
Yeah,
interesting thing, what I'd love to do is we say if we step into a room, which is actually not a room, it's a topic. We're talking about this, and then as we're talking, we've got speech to text summarized and then placed up on a wall like a murder board. And the bot makes connections. Like it's always red string for some reason. Like
yeah.
this refers to
So
this.
you want
Got
basically your
space.
conversation should be listened to. The bot should be trying to reconcile what you're saying into your existing body of knowledge. It
Yeah,
should be bringing up relevant, similar things that have been said or that it can add, streaming down to you as your conversation progresses, and it should be able
yeah,
to find other
yeah,
conversations you've had or that have been had around the world by other people who have entered the system, find you other conversations on a similar topic. And when you find something of note, you can go over to the physical object that where the scene is represented as a little box, and you can see the supercut of the things that the bot thought were relevant in the
yeah,
transcribed discussion that was occurring. And then now those people have also got a link back to what you were saying in the context of what you're going on about, and you could maybe even meet them if you're both online, or you could drop a memo or a note to say that you're gonna
yeah,
come in, right?
exactly. And there's a really powerful thing because bots are really good at summarizing.
Right.
And if you were to have say 3, 4, 5 of these topic rooms,
Right.
and when you're talking about something, you get a suggestion, which is the bot in the background has summarized something you previously talked about and said, "Well, okay, you guys already talked about this,
Right.
and here's what you're saying." Then you could update that session or update that the canonical log of
The
what you're
nugget,
saying about that topic.
the derived summary could be
Yeah,
modified by things in the future. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, then suddenly become Rain Man, right?
Yeah. Right. So really, the apps that we see are very close to that. The bit that's missing is the inventor's notebook, or the thing that's reconciling all your information together, because that on its own is a useful and hard to make thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, that's the thing that I'm always dreaming of all day, every day, because I'm trying to take notes and reconcile my own fucking thoughts.
Well,
Of
you've had God knows how many, like 15 years of inventor's notes, right?
yeah,
Uh,
or
and
more.
what ingest it into this space where it's divided up by topic.
Right.
Notes are there, they're summarized, and then you can drop into the topic
Yeah.
based on when you're talking about something. The AI says, "You guys seem to be talking about something you talked about 3 years ago.
Right.
All right, let's
And then
go
you
to
can
that
start
memory palace."
right, and you can go to the memory palace and you can build things up there, and you can be like, give me a duck with the face of a hippopotamus, and it should be able to. That shouldn't be too hard for it to make, even if we start
Yeah.
out as like MVP is just an image of that, because we know that the bots can do that, and you can just put it down somewhere and
Yeah.
just start putting these things down, and you're like, that's your.
I mean, isn't that okay? So it may be harder or easier to build, but if you had that, essentially, we're talking about someone with a kind of savant level memory talking to someone else who's also got savant level memory, and you've got independent rooms that the AIs are trying to reconcile based on what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Can generate a third room saying you've talked about this yourself, someone else has talked about this. Here's a new room with the pertinent stuff,
Mm.
and you can walk around it, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's what I meant."
All right.
That's
It'd almost be like a game to see if you could create new rooms by talking about new topics, and then
yeah,
you could find rooms with other people in it, because you're like, these people are talking about this topic right now, and the AI gatekeeper has determined the similarity sufficient that you are now allowed in.
right,
It's,
yeah.
like
Wouldn't
you
that
can.
be wouldn't that be awesome? And now you're wandering around. Now, the reason I didn't like that last one is one of the things that I like about this half-arsed VR. It's not as good as it could be, but I can turn and look to you. I know
Yeah.
you're looking at the screen. Um, you know,
I
you're
like
taking away the
the
whiteboard. I get that.
call me a control freak, but I like the fact that us being present here, and I can tell what you're looking at. I know where your
Right.
attention is, and I
Yeah.
know that, if we were in actual genuine 3D space and you start walking over to this, this thing over here, I'd know, like, oh, that's where his attention is. It's over there,
Right.
and it would
Yeah.
make it easier for me to understand or follow your train of thought.
Yeah. Precisely. And this is one of the things that when you first suggested using VR, absolutely blew my mind about how much information you get just by looking at an avatar.
It's a lot, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's almost full fidelity in terms of the amount of what I get out of it is like, compared to being there in person, I probably get about the same, right? About the
Right.
same.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Right,
And
right.
then okay, so we've got the avatar space, but then what you want is to map into the thought space, which is what we're just talking about
Yeah,
in memory palace. So walking through a memory
yeah.
palace, that memory palace would either be generated from previous conversations or could be dynamically um, mixed from two different previous sessions or as many sessions as you want. AIs are
Mm,
very good at that. And present, okay, so you're talking about this now, pulling various things from the memory palaces that you previously had, and here's what you're talking about.
mm.
And in a 3D space where you're walking around and going, shit, yeah, we actually did go through a lot of this 3 years ago, and we've both
Right,
forgotten
and
about
then
it.
it'd be like, screenshots of web pages that you both sort of read and consumed and commented on,
Right,
and
right,
people could pull up that snippet of that web page and see the discussion that had occurred, for example.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well,
Man,
that seems
if
pretty
we had that, if we
that
had that,
feels
that
pretty
would be
feature complete. Like that list of features, it's hard to know to want more. Like, like, once we start
yeah,
using it, obviously we'll probably want more, but the general concept, which is like the world linked to knowledge, like the environment and knowledge being blended together, and then this deep search function along with the reconciliation. It's like inbuilt advertising of concepts where you're really just looking for help from anyone anywhere.
Yeah. Well, also, it's the thing about uh, I'd love to be an idiot savant who remembers everything and looks at the stuff in front of him like he's never looked at it before, but is incredibly intelligent. And Memory Palace gives you that sort of
Right,
capability.
that sort of superpower, right?
Yeah. But like I don't know. I've not written games for many years.
It's easy, and it's getting easier, and what's coming down the pipeline is generative AI that can do 3D models. So that's coming very soon, and once we have that, and you can turn like, like it's like DALI 3 but for 3D models, then
That'd be perfect because uh, albeit a nice, kind of a bit like Canary Wharf backdrop we've got. I don't really care about that. So it could actually generate every time a new environment. Yeah. Okay, so
right,
we're on top of a mountain or a volcano or we're on Mars,
right,
but
right.
it's the presentation of the information that's the really interesting thing.
Yeah, and you could get different things out of it. Like if you saw the rate of objects, if someone started talking, there was a lot of objects popping up. You're like, "Whoa, slow down, buddy!" Like it's a
Yeah.
measure of the the comprehension or the word dribble that's occurring, and like you could even like if someone was saying a lot of things fast and they were being reconciled across a wide number of items in the knowledge
Oh, that
base,
would be
that would be
awesome.
showing as valuable items. But
You could
if
even
they were
metric
saying,
that. It's like how many times they just invent new words and use them
right,
in a way that makes
right,
sense.
that's right, and other
Yeah.
people
Or
might be
how many times do they
repeating,
reinforce a previous idea?
yeah, and you could like make junk objects versus like glamorous objects based on this sort of rating.
I would love that. I'd pay a couple $100. Just have that.
You'd probably pay per unit of use. Like you'd pay for the you almost wouldn't care how much it cost so long as it was always reconciling for you and presenting all the good ideas you'd ever had in the best possible consumable format for others to use, so
Yeah.
that they would ultimately pay you a royalty in the end because you surfaced information that was very valuable. And then you could just glide through the metaverse looking at these
Oh man.
discussions that have happened and like
Ah.
drop in, add some bits here and there. And then when people come back to their memory palace, they see some new things and they're like, what's that?
Okay. So let's pursue this thing. Uh, Memory Palace is a lot like the Help Store because these are things that have happened in the past that you can combine and recombine, change, fork, merge.
Right.
That's what we've just been talking about based on the topic that you're doing. The room that you're in seems a lot like a jitter.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
it's a just in time room.
right, and so you could be there by your. I think the benefit of not only the stuff that you've thought about before, but the benefit of what others have done, and the benefit of AI making connections. Connections. That's the thing. Connections.
Yep.
Um, right. Okay. So, sorry to run down that thought. Um, Not now because we've got crocodiles that are way closer to the canoe. But um, a Dreamcatcher which was based on a memory palace. idea where you walk through, you talk about what you want to do, and it's presented and
Yeah,
then
I mean
generated.
that's kind of what I think the Dreamcatcher is. Like that's the Dreamcatcher I want. I want to just be able to like
It's like your inventor's notebook, and to be able to walk through the benefit of the last, you know, decades, your thoughts, and you really have the mind balls of real time, and what are making connections that you didn't think of before. Isn't that going to be pretty powerful?
like this is today. Um, you know the 29th, and this is like everything that I was trying to solve today. Here's like the social features of this is the social implications of what we're talking about with identity. No reply actions. This was how to deal with the fact that that model I showed you has a lot of hops, and hops are commits, which are heavy or have delays and they have storage costs, so I need to minimize them. Lifecycle hooks was how to deal with how to make this application architecture that we're talking about be drop dead simple for anyone to use. Like the CRM and Howl appear to use the same thing. But yeah, I guess I'm always struggling that I can't type fast enough to say what I'm thinking. And I kind of want a machine to do a lot of that for me because I sort of jump around all over the place.
Yeah, but also machines can do that very fast, but they can point out where you're actually diverging and converging on ideas.
Right. You're right. And they can also bring ideas from other people because this whole notebook is just me. It would be great if there was like I was seeing Git diffs of things that people had added, like this was a fun idea where actually being able to digest the carcass of a failed startup in a way that was digestible by others, because if we wanted, for example, to gain access to the Interbit archives and you could get
Oh, that would be that's a good idea.
and it's
That's
like,
a really good
well,
idea.
we can't really give you upfront money because what is it worth? But we'd like access to it and we'll pay
Would like
royalty.
access to your mistakes.
Yeah. And the reconcilers, the AI summarizers, should be able to warn people, you're hitting awfully close to being like this other startup. So here's the metrics you like to look at yourself with. Here's those metrics applied to this company 6 months before failure. Warning.
Yeah.
Steer away from the rocks. But no one's really keeping track of where the rocks are in the venture space. And so like it just seems crazy.
Mistakes are so valuable, and they're just like hidden.
They're hidden. It's like, oops. And they should be shared, reconciled, broadcast. They should be like a really dark place in the memory palace where it's like all failures related to this, that, and the other thing. And it should be like a graveyard. And you're walking around talking about things dying.
Well, again, with mistakes, graveyard is a great place to actually learn lessons.
Yeah.
Or obituaries. Obituaries are a great place to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the thing that we just talked about is the knowledge component of it is what I imagine we're trying to build with the Dreamcatcher, because that's the goal, right? You're just having natural conversations, and it's being reconciled with a large body of knowledge that's yours plus others. It's bringing up other bits of knowledge from other people that are relevant in real time, and everyone's comfortable sharing because their contribution is being tracked, and there's an agreed generative AI system to figure out who gets what each time there's a payday.
Yeah, it's importantly summarizing and inferring, which is really valuable. So okay,
Mm,
so this happened in the past. You've gone down to roots. Let's summarize those and infer what you might want to consider next.
right.
There's
And
there's something here actually. Sorry. All these workrooms, they're still on the, they're still basically mapping, albeit a lovely plush, environment, but they're still mapping what you'd expect if you were to go into Canary Wharf, right?
right.
Big whiteboard, big screen, whatever.
Yeah.
But none of them are looking at what the real value is mapping the idea space, not the physical space. I don't really give a shit about the physical space.
Right.
All I want to do is
Yeah,
jump
that's
around
right.
the
That's
idea
right.
space.
That's right. They've all tried to just be um, recreations of the existing world, whereas the world should represent and empower your memory and your
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah. I have no idea how to write this. It's just stuck. It's a brilliant stuck.
Mm,
Well, I have no idea because I don't have time to look into how to write
I don't think it's
works
that far
for
off. I
the.
mean, the
I'd
knowledge management's
imagine.
the hard bit. The translating it into graphics is not the hard bit.
Well, as a back burner thing, I'm pretty sure could write a bunch of NL bots that do the same thing, just not in VR.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then the transition to VR is not that big. Okay, yeah. So I'd expect our conversation to be real time, summarized and reconciled and stored. I'd
Yeah.
expect other people's nuggets to be presented to me, and I would expect mine to be presented to them when they come close in the knowledge scape.
Yep. And
Um,
also for it to intuit the topic and dynamically produce a memory palace
Dynamically produce a memory palace, which
of relevant stuff.
at its most simple form is a real time recording that anyone else can drop in on and see going
Yeah.
down, and at its best is parsed into supercuts and other generative AI transforms that amplify the knowledge content of
Right.
each
Yeah.
individual session, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even that actually, even that we could do in with a suitable bot swarm inside of if we get once we get the um, uh, artifact going. This is really
That
talking about the
is
interaction of bots and files of information.
that is where making those multi-dimensional impact NFTs be real
Yeah,
things
yeah,
becomes
yeah, yeah,
super
yeah,
useful, because each room could have this impact crystal in the corner, and you're like, that's this crystal was made here.
yeah, yeah. That's really novel.
Hmm.
Can't do it at the moment. We've got we've got
Yeah. Shall we get
biggest
back
group ahead.
to our reconciliation piece?
Yeah. Did you get the text I sent
Yep.
over? It's not everything. I've got a whole bunch of stuff here, but I end up um not typing it all out, largely because of the
That's good. So, what I took from that, there was a couple of differences in terms. I'd been calling, instead of commissioning, I'd been calling that engaging. So you engage the help.
Okay.
Commissioning was a term that we'd started to use to represent the initial creation of a bot or a system.
Oh, the spin up of a bot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I've not used commissioning widely in any of the docs.
All right.
It's a kind of internal
Yeah.
whiteboard kind of thing.
So yeah, in code, I can change the code, but the context that it needs to make sense in is engaging the help, and the function name is engage. And so if you come up with a set of terms that fit that sort of usage, then I can change the code.
Almost certainly not change the code because the terms that I'm using are all in just text files, dead easy to change code different.
No,
Can you
it's all
can you bring up that thing?
the thing.
Basically, I can change so long as we're in sync. I can change on this side, so long as it makes sense. Can you
So
bring up that
the
thing I
WhatsApp
sent
thing?
Yeah.
I don't typically share my WhatsApp.
Or
Can I
I can share.
That's something I actually don't like
I've got it
sharing.
on there. Okay, yeah, 2 seconds. I can do it. I can do it. Yeah. Wait 2 seconds.
Are you okay with
Right.
your 9 fingers there? I can.
It's not 9 fingers. It's,
Oh, sorry, 9.5.
I don't know. It's like 9 point. I mean, how many fingers do you need, honestly?
Well, I'd like
mean-
100% of my fingers, actually.
So long, we'll never try and do floating point with your fingers. Okay, so right, commissioning. Yeah. Okay. So, what was your
Engaging
thing? Where?
But it's like the difference is that I had called. It's like engaging the help, I think, is the sticking point for us there, because you've started talking about drone.
Yeah, apologies. I just created that out of nowhere.
Well, everything was created out of nowhere at some point, so you shouldn't feel that sorry. But
basically, there's a HAL and there's drones.
Now the context, what you've called helps, a bot drone that can complete a function, or an isolate that can complete a function.
Yep.
You've spoken about it like that's the runtime of a help. That's the engagement of a help. But the help itself is just the
stores capability to do that.
Well, to use this language, a help is a system prompt plus a system prompt plus some isolates, plus I think there's another form of instruction that is the bot swarm, the swarminess, whatever the fuck that is. That's what a help is. It's like a script that tells you how to do something using the tools available.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Script or recipe and so on. So
yeah, and if you follow, if you
embedding the sorry.
No, that's you go, because that was sort of the
So the way I've been thinking about it is basically partial. So each drone knows who to pass on next thing, and is being asked or engaged by something above it.
Right.
It doesn't know anything else other than what it needs to do. And so the emergent behavior is in the architecture of what each drone says. I can accept orders from this other bots, and I can give orders to this other bot.
Yeah. So the curly
like an overarching script.
Yeah,
the help. We called it an orchestrator, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's not. That's just a form of help. Like the help would tell you how to start the system, how to make the drones that are going to be involved, and then how to take the user's request and transform it into something that goes into which drone, and then how to summarize the request back. It's about it's a unit of execution that can be arbitrarily, it can be multi-agent, or it can be very simple, but it's a solution to a problem.
Oh, I like. Oh God, this is going to be painful for you because
Because
I'm
your
on
finger
VR
hurts.
and I'm missing part of my finger.
Oh dear.
Unit of execution. I like that. For fuck's sake, why can't I just dictate this?
I know, right?
Oh, fucking. Right, I'll fix it there. A unit of execution. That is an interesting.
Maybe the worst spelling of
Okay, fuck's sake, man.
exclusion.
I've literally got pain every time I fucking hit anything on the left-hand side of my keyboard, and I'm a touch typer. So, we're not talking finger pecking.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give that up now.
I'm gonna have to go back to the finger pecking.
98% finger touch typer. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's an interesting concept. Okay, so if the help is a unit of the execution,
Repeatable execution. That's the thing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether repeatable adds up because
you're just afraid of typing because it hurts. But yeah, the
help
the help is the like the CD that you get and then run. It's the instructions.
Right.
It's the program.
So what it's got is it's like a script of which bots do what to carry out X or V. It's gonna be irritating. Okay, so it's got a script. The help doesn't commission anything, right? It's just
well, you could when you want to use the commissioner would be packaged up as a help that gets invoked. Right, and so commissioning, it can commission things because the commissioner is a help.
Right. Okay. No. This is I think getting to another thing. Right. I'm thinking about runtime versus static.
Yeah.
So a bot is basically a bunch of files, and static, and at runtime something's got to evoke it.
Right.
The thing that invokes it at the start is Dave, and Dave can commission other bots, and drones can commission other drones, and so on.
Right.
But in between invocation, there are simply static files. Now, a help I'm thinking about is a static set of information. So, for example, I said there is a script of which bots do what to carry out, but
no matter,
it doesn't have. It can't invoke itself.
No, that's right. It needs to be invoked. And once it is invoked, it can invoke other helps, but it is not autonomous. It is called upon.
No, it can't invoke other helps.
What?
Well,
yeah, it can.
So
helps can invoke other helps.
So what I'm thinking is the. Oh shit. All right. Fuck off. This is actually I'm in pain here, man. A bit niceness, but that verbal cuddling.
Mate, everyone who saw you at that saw bench said the same thing. They were like, "Be careful, mate. You're gonna lose a finger." Turns out everyone was right, and you ignored them all.
Do not. Oh shit! This video. Okay, I'm sure this video is going to be out after actually I tell my other half.
I don't think she gives two flying fucks what we put on the internet. I don't think she cares.
Right. I'm in so much trouble. A commission identifies task. Defies
When you say commissioner, you're talking about it in
help.
the sense of it's
Uses.
what engages the help.
Give me 2 seconds. I'll write this down and then I'll answer that question.
Okay.
Uses help to commission based on that that help help script. Okay, right. So here's what I'm saying. The help is a static thing. It can't do anything. So you need something to say, right, I've got a bunch of helps, effectively a bunch of recipes about
Mm.
how to do this. So
Mm.
the commissioner needs to identify what what's being asked for, and then identifies in the helps how to do that, and then use the help to commission the stuff to actually happen in runtime, which is why I've split out there, which is helps are drones or isolates, because the commissioner doesn't care. It's like I call a function, fine.
Yep.
Call a drone, fine, and then it cascades down. But
Right.
the action is based on the commissioner at runtime. So the help, therefore, is a static thing that you could literally print out and saying, okay, so
Yeah.
here's the script, here's the system prompt, here's
Right.
all the information we got, and so
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
on. Okay, cool.
Right.
Right.
Now,
So
commissioner
that
is a like traditional programming has very strong language around things like executable, instance, binary file. Commissioner adds a new term for no gain when you're really just talking about instancing a set of machine instructions.
So what would be the noun for instancing? Instancer?
You were instanced, and you have an instance.
No,
An
those are not
instance of.
nouns. That's adjectives. Um, no, who does the instancing?
Who does the instancing? The execution context.
Is that typically used? That sounds a very clumsy term, which
Did it lose a
just
finger?
doesn't mean that's not traditional. But there's lots of clumsy terms. But is that really what it's called? The thing that kicks off. I mean, what we're talking about is something that the commissioner is a bit like, okay,
Well, you could call. Well,
you
what's
could
the piece of
kick
the
me off a
operating
bash file.
system? What's the piece of the operating system that runs things when it's told?
Well, that's the artifact, but the artifact is again static until something happens.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so,
Well, okay. I don't want to get tangled up in this things because
mm,
I mean it works the language that you've got here, but the real problem you're highlighting is the word app and what does app
mhm.
mean, and that's really
Yeah,
what
yeah, I don't
we've come
see.
here today to reconcile.
Yeah, exactly. That was the kind of the orange flag when you were talking about it previously.
Yeah. So what would when I have a CRM,
Mm,
it has a file structure, and that file structure is malleable, but consistent.
mm-hmm.
And there are a collection of helps that get formed because the users want to do something with this data structure, and so there's helps that form that are unique to this data structure.
So that would be the equivalent of an isolate that knows how to talk to that data structure.
But I need an isolate being code. We have drawn a distinction between natural language code and machine code.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been calling an isolate machine code. And even though the natural language code is invoked by way of an isolate, we have distinguished that to call it NL code. Or NL, we didn't, it was NL
Yeah,
something, right?
because an isolate can't run itself. So who runs it? A bot runs it. How does it run it? It runs it through an NL instruction for that isolate to run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that data structure is intended to be parsed by the NL instructions, but in highly parallel ways, as well as the ways that you're talking about, such as because the ways you're talking about are largely around solving a single problem. So Dave
Mhm.
says a problem, and then a problem is
Oh, right. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's where apps come in. So it's like previously solved problems where you don't want the NL context to fuck up what was previously working.
it needs to
So
right. It needs to
it's
be
upfront. It's upfront. The NL needs to understand that you're asking for something that's very similar to something that someone else has already asked for. And hey, we've got this tool. This
right,
tool
and
might
even
involve
tighter than
bots and
that.
isolates.
Even tighter than
Right.
that, it needs to only use tools that have been tested and certed to some level, so that
Right. Okay. So we do have an app. It's
it's like a
app's not a
package.
great name because
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's
you're on a
yes, it
naming
is.
frenzy.
It's close to a package, isn't it? It's close to the package. It's like um yeah. So right.
And see the thing with this app, which I'll just because you kept using the word commissioner after we agreed to change it, I'll keep using the word app. This app is like it's like a bunch of helps that are tested and tuned for a specific data structure, which is like customer records and invoices and geographic routing and
Right, right. Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know
But the important thing is the noise up front is between bot and bot or Dave and Hal
mm,
sides. Okay, so I think roughly what you're meaning is this, but then it gets shoot. Well, not shoehorned. That's pejorative, but it gets designated as saying this is what you want to happen, and then from that point onwards, the app is the flow of any kind of cycles and rewrites, whatever, in order to get the outcome. So the app is an embodied piece that could be a bot and an isolate, or it could be bots, but which uh, delivers a certain outcome without any kind of, you know, fucking around.
no, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't feel like it captures the distinction that I need to be making in the system for
Uh-huh.
apps. The
Yeah.
distinction is that a help is intended to be run on variable information that comes in, often very open ended or starting completely open ended. But in an
Mm-hmm.
app, I need it to stick to a structured format. I need to hard code it n- to use a template for what is the format of a customer. It must be the same every time. I can't have it being slightly different because it like the instance of the app of the CRM that has real customer data in it stays there with each repeat invocation of a help. And so no matter how many times you call on helps, the whilst the data structure can be mutated, it's it carries on between engagements or invocations of helps, of bots, of isolates. It's persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different to what you, in none of the topics you've covered here, have you described persistence and then re-invoking something with the now changed data structure. Like what I have to deal with in the CRM is that I'm invoking helps depending on what the users want, but it's always incrementing this underlying data structure that is now different every time you re-execute the same help.
How different? I mean, you don't want your CRM to change and add in column for aliens
Sometimes I
because
do though. Sometimes I like there are times when a specific set of conditions have occurred and I need to modify every record in bulk. But most of the time, I only want to alter the records a little bit. I would like it if, through, say, several hundred incremental changes to these customer records, I would like it if the CRM suggested to me, I think you might need to rethink your data structure because I've noticed this and I've noticed that, and here's a new data structure that will save you XYZ.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. And so the helps may um, iterate slower than the underlying data structure which they're actually calling on. They still
Correct.
need to be able to handle that.
Correct. And
I haven't
the
thought about
helps
that.
also need
Interesting.
to be able to accept parameterized data. So they need to be run on, like, we need to have trained them on, say, customer records that have a name, but they should never have been trained on an exact name. But every time they get called with an exact name. So they need to be able to handle template style data coming in.
We're talking about the opposite ends of the same stick.
Yeah,
When I was talking about the reason I called out your use of apps was because we've got jitters, which are not necessarily one off, but probably one off, but
right.
importantly are there in order to
The
meet the
transient
intent.
though, the
But the
transient. Whereas
the
I was trying to
transient, but
capture the
the
solidity of the
yeah,
permanence of the record keeping system.
right, but the drill bit that's actually at the coal face isn't transient, and you need to be able to test it
Yeah.
and make sure that there is that's it. Okay, right, good. Okay, yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Can
that
you?
is distinct. That's distinct. So when you're saying jitter, sorry, when you're saying app, I thought you were talking about jitter, which is defined there.
Right. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
talking
Okay.
about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
drill bit of right. Okay, now we've got to deal with the interface with the data store, which could be multiple data stores and maybe actually changing underneath it. You still have to be able to deal with it.
Hmm. So I
Okay.
don't know what a better name for app is. An app is not a jitter, um, but it is some sort of a consistent swarm of helps and data and structure. Like, it represents something far more permanent than a jitter.
Yep. Yep. And
Jitters should,
necessarily so as
yeah,
well because we need to
yeah,
test it.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
that's expensive.
jitters represent something that's it's like the interface between Dave and the app is jitters, because jitters are dynamic based on what Dave wants rendered on the fly. But underneath, like
Yeah.
if we look at our canonical example on the wall over there, the jitters can, but like no one's going to change the geography of the land unless you drop a really big bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Or
underneath
where
it
those
all,
blue and red spots are, presumably, there's hardware there.
right, and you can't change that. Like, that's not transient, that's like facts, and it
It's
needs
almost
to
like an
be.
interface, isn't it? It's, interface is
Yeah,
the wrong word, but it's not app. I would, uh, I'd say app has too much baggage.
yeah, I know.
Um, we need another thing, whether we call it
Well,
interface, whether we call it a
at
drill
the
bit,
moment it's a
or something.
repository, so it is a Git repo, but it's a Git
Yeah,
repo
no,
that
we're
has a
we're
different
using repo
purpose.
for a number of different. We're over indexing on that though, aren't we?
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
the repo is basically a store. Um, we need another word. We're rubbish at making words, but yeah, okay. But the concept is the far less fluid um, injection point that deals with complexity and dynamic complexity beneath it, and takes in complexity dealt with. The bots who are deciding what the intent is. That is distinct and needs to be much more stable than jitters, which, frankly, are like Google results, right?
Yeah, they're like Google result.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. Good. Good. All right. From my side, I feel content that I'm on the same page with you. We're talking about
Yeah,
the
but we need a name.
opposite ends of the
So
same stick.
we need a name. So I'm gonna get us one.
Yeah, go for it. Let's just make one up because we usually do. Ah, see. If we had our memory palace,
It would have
we
been
just
done
talk to a
for us,
room
right?
and say, right, you've listened to us for the last half hour. What do you
No,
suggest?
it would have identified that we are clearly struggling to come up with a name, and it should be sort of like popping them up all around us, falling from the sky, like notes being dropped before Hiroshima was bombed, and then we can just be
It'll
like, oh,
be
yeah.
awesome, wouldn't it?
However, app doesn't work. Why doesn't app work? Tell me, please.
App doesn't work because it's overused and is synonymous with baked in code, usually on mobile phones. We're looking for a term that encompasses a semi static interface between a data store, which itself could be dynamic, and therefore the interface needs to be aware of that and take in semi dynamic input, and so the interface needs to be aware of that. That's really, really shit, Maxwell. But yeah, okay. No, 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 no. Uh, we need an analogy. What's the analogy? The reason I said drill bit is because the drill bit takes in input, as in what do you point it at, and there's an unknown but semi-known coal face or diamond or gold face behind it. But the drill bit itself doesn't change much. That's what I was saying. A drill bit. You get what I'm saying? I'm just kind of riffing on this, but it's you're taking something that's semi-dynamic into a semi-dynamic world, but everyone knows what you will do, but you could also be changed. Now, these are all bollocks. I'm not sure we're going to get a good. Let's persist. Where's my bot? Wait, bot, where are you?
What about applet?
Oh, and that just sounds like, a whole bunch of little apps running around with like cute ears and chubby cheeks. No, and also the point is actually
A
um,
framework?
no, it's not framework. Um, okay, so the point is actually this is we're at the coal face to go back to the drill thing, which I'm not ready to, but this is the important part of taking the chaos of the bot swarm and Dave Howe and drones and so on, and then translating it into semi chaos behind the scenes. So there's a transition. So exec app verb implying energy and activity.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
A snap.
Noun. What's a noun of verb? Verver. Um, spark. cog, quite like cog. Capsule pod packet bundle.
Crate.
Can you get it to riff on cog? Because cog has that kind of right feel to it. Cog work, cog unit, cog mesh, cog core, cog core. I just added other words to the end of cog. It's a machine. Sorry.
I find this exercise very useful because trying to figure out what we mean is
that's one of the
an axle.
I've literally got it burned into my spleen. The the learnings from our erstwhile mentor about definitions.
An axle.
Axle. Oh, I quite like axle.
Gear set,
like axle?
turret. These are good. A spindle.
Sprocket is funny because it's a bit, nice, and UK is like a British term. Who uses the word sprocket unless you're like mid-50s in, Middle England? Turret spool, gear set, cam, ratchet, pinion. Ratchet, maybe.
Ratchet. Sounds like the quality of it.
It's getting quite close, actually. Flange? No.
Crank.
That's what flange is.
Tell me again why you thought drill bit was a thing.
Because, I don't know, it came into my head that, by analogy, take a mining operation. You've got a user who gives in all sorts of input, who's running this drill bit. And then you've got the other side, which is dynamic, perhaps unknown. The one known is this machine is going to drill in that direction. Now, maybe the user points it in the wrong direction, or maybe what the user thought was behind the coal face isn't actually what's behind there. So we've got dynamic in front, we've got dynamic in the back, but the one thing that's actually set is the machine using to make the whole. But that machine infrequently can also get repaired, improved, and so on. But it's fairly static versus the static, the dynamic in and the dynamic out.
So you're saying that the app is the data that's going in is unknown, and you don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but you know that it is going to be processed by a very specific tool that, whilst the tool can be upgraded over time, at least the important thing is that it is the tool or the processing station that...
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the tool will deal with the complexity of the thing, in front of it.
How about how about if we called it a workstation, because it's as though if the AI was a person, it would have come to this workbench, this work table that was set out and laid out a certain way and was difficult to change but not impossible, and it came to do very specific work.
I like your thinking, and the workstation sounds to me, well, a workstation like a train station. It's where work comes to stop, but that to one side. But I like where you're thinking about this one. So it's like, where do you go to do work? on, JP. Come on, you can do this. Data lathe. Oh,
Data
I don't know
lathe.
why I like that.
Oh,
Probably
that
because
is
it just looks a
smooth.
finger.
Oh, that is smooth. Data
Data
lathe.
lathe is. Oh,
The lathe part I like because
that's
it's
a completely
spinning.
emotional response to that. I don't know if it works, but I like that.
Like an app lathe?
Yeah, well, it's like taking data and milling it into a
Milling it,
precise
processing
piece
it
of
repeatedly,
thing that you
repeatably.
can use. And oh god, I really do like that. Okay, so the analogy is take a hunk of metal and you end up with a turbine blade in a
Right,
jet
but you
engine.
do it lots is the thing that the CRM does because it needs to be like I
Right,
need 10,000
right.
units,
And it goes
bang.
backwards and forwards, and so on. And it starts with the complexity of a lump of metal, which fuck knows, you know, you're going to have all sorts of impurities. You've got the guy at the front saying, okay, lay this down into this whatever bit. But the lathe transfers the intent, takes in chaos, and produces something precise.
Yeah.
I quite like that data lathe. Oh, okay, I'm going to need to take this as a shoot. Well, actually, what we'll do is I'll put her off. Hello, can I give you a call in 5? Is that all right? Um, Hub sounds too German. Forge link sounds too software. Assembly web is way off. Task grid? No. Craft chain. Oh my god. I could honestly make a a German like synth band with the name Craft Germ. Right, yeah. I think you heard. Heads up, I've got 5 minutes or ish.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we're past the peak here. Lathe was probably the best.
I think if you let's go back up. Where were we with the digital lathe? The problem is that doesn't roll off the tongue. It's like, yeah, it doesn't.
Why is it not an app though?
Because an app is what I've got on my phone. What we're
Is
talking
this
about is
not
not what
gonna?
I've got on my
Yeah,
phone.
right. But why not? Like the CRM would be presented as an app, and it would
No,
be
because what we're talking about here is the other end of the stick. A jitter is what you get presented, and
right.
apps are gone. You know, last century, all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And they're going to put
true.
jitters or generative UI or whatever anyone else wants to call it. We're not talking about that part here.
So right, so the Ethereum nerds called them DApps or distributed apps. Is there a letter we can put in front of app?
What are they like? They're like they get called when there's something to do. So there's just instructions. That's not right.
Naps.
Naps. Okay.
Done, right?
Yeah. No, that's well done, ChatGPT.
What about me?
Naps.
What about the
Naps.
prompter?
Easy to say, easy to explain, and because it's natural language. That explains that. And both the input and outputs, we're talking about natural language. Naps. Okay, so, right, before we get too carried away, let's define what we need. So it's a cool name, right? Let's get it squared down because we've got a jitter. How does a nap differ from a jitter?
We're about to be told.
Yeah. After a certain point, ChatGPT just is like your really boring friend who just wants to shut the fuck up. But nevertheless, at the start of the party, says really interesting. Um, how does an app differ from a jitter?
How does an app differ from a jitter? Okay. An app.
Or a nap, not a nap. Nap. And, well, that is fancy. Yes. Whose job is to give repeatable, complete, and correct, all that usual stuff, responses from natural language and translate that into natural language in order to give it's the completeness and correctness. It's the nozzle, isn't it? It's the thing that we want to not change. With all the chaos with natural language, we want it to go through the nozzle of the nap, so that we know at least at that point we're gonna get a result.
Oh, this is memory.
Oh yeah, I still don't have that. I was thinking about that this morning.
I only just got it.
I think we're being backballed because of Brexit.
That's the part I really want. I also want to add the concurrency aspect of it, like the fact that it's meant to be large scale, like a database, whereas jitters are meant to be they're meant to only present as much information as the user can consume, which is relatively
are like
not a lot.
a Google search results, right? You type something else.
Right. That's right. So,
but what we want here is some consistent interface. I'm going to have to go, man. I'm drawn to naps just because, I don't know, it seems to be...
Yep, sounds good to me.
Cool world, a word and natural language apps. Captures a lot of stuff. But I think we know where we...
Structured.
Where we're at.
Structured is the main thing.
Yeah. When you're talking about apps, I was thinking about jitters.
Okay, great.
So I think we're in sync. But let's use naps.
So I will share this with you. And I'll also show you what memory means. These are just the things that it extracted out about me.
Oh.
That's what it figured out.
That's exactly what we want for the memory palace.
Yeah, but somehow much more powerful. Okay, I'll share this with you, and then yeah, I'll keep going with the user account stuff. I'm very sorry it's taking so long, but I feel like it's important to get right, and it's
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. And as I was saying earlier on, background the boy thinking a blank sheet right off is unfair. So what I'm doing is writing the system prompts and then putting it through the loop and then getting that prompts for a blank sheet as we were talking about earlier on. So I'm probably got about 3 or 4 days of stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm continuing to go as fast as I can, and I'll speak very soon.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, that was fun.
Naps. Naps, man.
Naps. See you later.
See ya.